What is up, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Made to Excel Fitness Podcast, the fitness podcast for you, by you. I'm your host, as always, Mark Torres. And in today's episode number 40, it is training style number 5. It is the Strongman episode, history of Strongman training, training styles. What is it? Pros and cons. Should you try it yourself? Let's talk about it all. What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Made to Excel Fitness Podcast. It is Monday, December 7th. So as you listen to this, Thanksgiving just passed for me. It was this past week, I guess. And obviously, as you listen to this, you're like, dude, Thanksgiving was so long ago, but I haven't had a Thanksgiving while talking on this podcast until this very moment. And this year's Thanksgiving was the least Thanksgiving feeling Thanksgiving of all time. And I think just the ambiance of the year 2020 in general is just not there. So Thanksgiving was a little bit weird this year. For some reason, it just didn't feel the same. But it was still great, right? Still a day where it felt like another day, just with an overabundance of food. But I got to spend extra time with my family, which is fantastic. Not everybody was together, but it is what it is. As time goes on, things change. In terms of the food itself, so this is the first time I've had a vegetarian Thanksgiving dinner just because of the people around me. I'm not an avid meat eater by any stretch of the imagination already as it is, and I already don't like turkey, so it wasn't a big stretch for me to have a vegetarian Thanksgiving. Turned out fantastically. We all know that Thanksgiving is all about the sides anyways. Nobody cares about the turkey. It's all about the mac and cheese and the mashed potatoes, and in a Puerto Rican family, the rice and beans. So that was fantastic. Thanksgiving Day Parade was very weird this year. You could tell that they were running out of people to contact to be like, yo, do you want to be on the parade this year? And everybody said no, so they were kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel there. No disrespect to everybody who performed at the Thanksgiving Day Parade. It just didn't feel the same. Football, one of the games got canceled. COVID is running amok through the Baltimore Ravens facility right now. So we only got 2 games. Both games were decent. But other than that, just a day to hang out, relax. Didn't feel like Thanksgiving, but we put up the Christmas tree, which was nice. Christmas tree, we're in full-fledged festive season at this moment. Still, in a weird way, doesn't feel like the ramp up that we had to spooky season. I think, for me, in general, spooky season and festive season kind of rival each other in any given year. Spooky season, just a little bit above festive season. But it's just, for some reason, the ambiance is different this year. For spooky season, it was kind of easy to kind of get into it. For festive season, it's taking a little bit longer, but we're going to get there, right? This week, upcoming, we're going to get some snow, so it might be easy to get into the festive season, really dive in, drink lots of hot chocolate, watch lots of Christmas movies, listen to lots of Christmas music, all that fun stuff. But the other thing to talk about was this past weekend was the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. fight. And I guess I have to talk about first the Jake Paul versus Nate Robinson fight. And I am not necessarily a fan of the Paul brothers in general, right? One is substantially worse than the other. Not going to go into specifics, but one is definitely worse than the other. They both still have their moments, though. And I was really hoping that Jake Paul was going to have a rough day when it comes to in the ring and boxing. And I figured that Nate Robinson's athletic ability, being a high-level basketball player for all the years that he played, being as athletic as he is, being a little guy and still being able to jump how he jumps, I figured that athletic training, that athletic ability would kind of manifest itself in other ways as well. And we all know how that worked out for him. My man's was sleeping quick. So it was, within 15 seconds of the start of the fight, I think it was mostly initiated by Nate, but they were both just hugging each other. As they say, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And that was pretty evident in Nate Robinson's case that he just wasn't prepared for this fight. They were gassed at the beginning. I don't know about Jake, but Nate Robinson was gassed in the beginning, or maybe that was just his survival tactic, is to just grab and hold on. And, ain't nothing wrong with that in the right situations, but from the jump, they were hugging each other, and it was a whole crazy thing. That fight was insane. Poor Nate Robinson. The internet is ruthless. The amount of memes that I've seen, he's going to have to hide for a little bit. I think he can't come out of whatever hole he's in right now for a little while. Let kind of the internet move on from him and, start roasting other people. The internet moves quickly, so that's in his favor. He's getting roasted incessantly at the moment, but as time goes on, people will forget what happened to Nate Robinson. And hopefully, I don't know if he has any intention of doing this again. Hopefully not. He seemed completely lost out there, but it is what it is. It takes courage for anybody to stand in a ring and actually go toe-to-toe with somebody who knows or who wants to knock your block off. So, props to Nate Robinson in that regard. But, boy, I don't know what happened with your training. But in terms of the Tyson Jones Jr. fight, it was actually not that bad. I kind of expected it. I felt in either way, it was either going to be a really quick fight or it was going to go the distance and be very boring. It was kind of somewhere in the middle. I think, Mike Tyson showed athletic ability that kind of surprised everybody. He still looked very explosive out there. He still looked like he had some fight left in him. And even Roy Jones, there was a couple flurries at the end where it's he looks still good. And I think, Roy was fighting defensively and he was fighting for points, which obviously you probably have to do because Mike Tyson's a scary guy. And it feels like Mike Tyson had a couple home run shots that he missed. But at the end of the fight, he did say, everybody knows that I can knock anybody out at any given moment, but I feel like technical fighting is when you go the distance with somebody, and that's exactly what he did. And it was an entertaining fight, and Snoop commentating the fight was just absolutely hilarious. I said those look like my uncles fighting out there, which is amazing commentary. But it was a decently enjoyable fight all the way through, so no complaints. It wasn't super boring, it wasn't super exciting, it was just a good semi-entertaining way to kind of cap off the Thanksgiving weekend. But that's about it, right? So that wraps up the intro. Training style number 5 is all about strongman training. Once again, trying to expose you guys to as many training styles as I possibly can to see if there's something out there that you enjoy, maybe more or less than what you're doing now, to hopefully allow you to go through this training process and go through your fitness journey as enjoyably as you possibly can. So without further ado, let's get into episode 40 of the Made to Excel Fitness podcast. What's up, guys? Welcome to training style number 5. This is the Strongman episode. This is one of those training styles that I might butcher a little bit because I'm not super familiar with strongman in the training aspect of it. There's obviously different subgenres of fitness, just like there's subgenres in everything else. It's impossible for one person to be an expert in everything, which is a good warning for you guys out there who are finding maybe a trainer or whatever aspect of fitness that you need help in. Making sure that you find somebody that is actually knowledgeable in a specific area, and they don't claim to be knowledgeable in all areas, because it's really hard to do that because there's many different subgenres. You might find somebody who's going to be a really great bodybuilding coach, but they won't know anything about strongman, and vice versa. So depending on what you're looking for, make sure you find the right person for the job. But strongman is very much so a close cousin of powerlifting per se. So there's going to be a lot of similarities in today's episode. Over the course of the last 4 episodes even, you're going to hear a lot of the same things, but maybe a little bit of a different spin on it. In terms of popularity, this is almost on par with CrossFit. I talked about the popularity and the exposure of CrossFit in last week's episode, how they've got the CrossFit Games. They've got a lot of eyes on that competition. Strongman obviously has the World's Strongest Man competition, which is kind of popular in its own right. I guess within fitness circles, it's not something that maybe will go to the general population, but that's something that you might have seen on TV way back in the day. I don't know that they show World's Strongest Man competitions on TV anymore. I'm sure they're on YouTube. It's been a while since I've seen them. But these guys, the competition itself is very interesting. It's something that you could feasibly watch and enjoy, even if you have no attachment to the sport, unlike something like bodybuilding, where you almost have to have a sort of connection there in order to enjoy watching something like the Mr. Olympia. But this year's winner for the World's Strongest Man was Alexei Nikova. I'm totally butchering the last name. This guy named Alexei, last year, 2019, was Martin. Not even going to attempt his last name, but he's the guy who you might have seen on the Glad trash bag commercials, which are actually hilarious. And then you've got guys like Eddie Hall, Brian Shaw, and Hafthor, which are kind of the titans of the sport. They are kind of the big, popular strongman celebrities, especially in the YouTube circles and the fitness circles, things of that nature. Actually, Eddie Hall and Hafthor are going to box each other at some point in the near future. Apparently that's the thing. When you become a celebrity, you start boxing each other. I don't know what that's all about, but that's going to be a fantastic, amazing spectacle to see, because they're both very gigantic men. See how they perform in a boxing aspect, which should be a training style in and of itself. But I'm, as little as I know about strongman, I know even littler, that's not a word, I don't think. I know even less about boxing in terms of like training, but that's something also, if you are looking for a training style that you might enjoy, boxing might be one of them. Will I do a bonus episode if I look into it a little bit? Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. But yeah, strongman, it's got a lot of exposure. You might have heard of these guys: Eddie Hall, Brian Shaw, Hafthor. Hafthor is the mountain in Game of Thrones. So if you've seen Game of Thrones, you've absolutely seen a World's Strongest Man athlete before, and they all compete in the strongman sport. And I'd be remiss to say I missed many opportunities over the course of the powerlifting episode and the Olympic weightlifting episode, and I thought about it in this episode. Mark Henry, the WWE wrestler, was called the World's Strongest Man for a long time. He never actually won the World's Strongest Man competition, but I think he came in first or second place in like the Arnold World's Strongest Man competition, which is separate from, that gets kind of confusing, but it's a different strongman competition. He placed very highly there, and he had a prolific powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting career, and I never mentioned him. My bad, Mark Henry. That's on me. And I also misspoke because there is kind of a Super Bowl for powerlifting, but it's not something that you would ever probably come across just in passing, right? That's kind of a very tight-knit thing. Unless you have a connection to that sport specifically, probably not going to see it. But when I talked about powerlifting having kind of connections elsewhere, a lot of powerlifting aspects find themselves in strongman, in Olympic weightlifting, in CrossFit, things of that nature. So that might be why it doesn't have as much exposure, hyper-focused on powerlifting itself. But enough talking. Let's get into the strongman competition. So a little bit from the Wikipedia page. What is strongman? History, things of that nature. So in the 19th century, the term strongman referred to an exhibitor of strength or similar circus performers who performed feats of strength. More recently, strength athletics, also known as strongman competitions, have grown in popularity. These competitions are now composed of a variety of events in which competitors have to move the highest weight possible, the winner being the one with the highest tally across all events. In the past, strongman would perform various feats of strength, such as the bent press, not to be confused with the bench press, which did not exist at the time, supporting large amounts of weight held overhead at arm's length, steel bending, chain breaking, etc. Large amounts of wrist, hand, and tendon strength were required for these feats, as well as prodigious oblique strength. In the late 20th century, the term strongman evolved to describe one who competes in strength athletics, a more modern, eclectic strength competition in which competitors display their raw functional strength through exercises such as lifting rocks, toting refrigerators, pulling trains, towing an 18-wheel truck behind them, etc. The most famous competitions of this type are the World's Strongest Man, the Arnold Strongman Classic, the Strongman Champions League, and the Giants Live Tour. However, many countries hold national level competitions. So for example, Eddie Hall was the World's Strongest Man at one point, but he was also Europe's World's Strongest Man, or Britain's World's Strongest Man, but it was a country-specific one. That's what they were talking about there, but those are the different competitions, right? So World's Strongest Man is probably the biggest one. Arnold Strongman competition, Arnold Strongman Classic, I should say, was the second biggest one, which is where Mark Henry was. So different sort of classifications there, but they're both actually really big events. In recent years, interest in the sport at the grassroots level have skyrocketed, leading to the spontaneous formation of local clubs loosely affiliated with the provincial, state, and national associations. Many sport-specific training facilities have begun to incorporate movements associated with strongman competitions into their general training schemes, albeit with lighter weights used. Examples: tire flips, sled drags, object loading or carrying, log pressing, farmer's walks, and so on. Training for strongman involves building overall strength in the gym and training with competition implements to gain familiarity. In the gym, it is necessary to train the entire body for strength, especially with variants of the squat, deadlift, and overhead press. Also important is explosive power, developed by weightlifting style lifts and cardiovascular conditioning. Grip strength must also be highly developed. Although you can do general strength training at a typical gym, training with a strongman regimen requires equipment not typically found in a gym. Some equipment used in a strongman competition would have found to be custom made or at a strongman gym. These equipments include the Atlas stone, a log, a farmer's walk bar, a yoke, a keg, or vehicle. Another part of strongman's training is its intense diet regimen. A top athlete in strongman would need to ingest upwards of 10,000 calories in a day, which is insane. And that's pretty much it. They go into like the notable strongman, things of that nature, which if you're interested in those things, you should definitely go check out. The Wikipedia page, if you go to the World's Strongest Man website, also they have like a nifty little chart of the history of the sport if you're interested in that stuff. So that's a good overview of strongman. It's a good blend of everything. That's what I'm saying. And that's kind of why I did these things in the order that they're in, because strongman is really going to build on everything else that came before it in terms of the last 4 training styles that I've done. So, are there specific lifts for strongman? Yes, of course. And I wrote some of them down. I didn't realize that the Wikipedia page has some of these things. So, so you have Atlas stone pickups, axle press, car flip, deadlift hold, dumbbell press, farmer's walk, frame carry, Hercules hold, keg toss, loading race, log clean and press, squat, tire flip, vehicle pull, yoke carry, and the Viking press. So there's a lot of things there. It's essentially picking up things and moving things that are irregular objects. You may have seen a lot of these strongman events before in terms of like, people pulling vehicles, grabbing a rope and pulling the vehicles, Atlas stone, big rocks. They're not rocks, but they're stones. Picking them up, putting them up on, different pedestals, things of that nature. Those are all very strongman specific lifts. So things you may have seen before, that comes from strongman. If you didn't know what it was before, now you know what it is now. Training emphasis is getting as strong as you can, picking up weird objects. It's all about, very much so like powerlifting, it's all about getting as strong as you can. But the difference between powerlifting and strongman is powerlifting is all done with a barbell. Whoever created the barbell made a barbell specifically in order to be convenient to pick up. It is ergonomically designed in order to be picked up with as little, resistance as possible. Not resistance, but like be as convenient as possible, right? Something that is small enough that you can wrap your arms around, or wrap your hands around, I should say. It's wide enough to accommodate lots of weight, and it's kind of easy to pick up. Strongman is completely opposite of that. They want you to pick up weird things. They want you to they want to kind of force you to go outside of that comfort zone, and it's very much so real life crossover, which you'll see in the pros and cons, in terms of like picking up weird things in your day-to-day life. So in terms of strongman, you want to get as strong as possible, picking up weird things. That's kind of the emphasis of it. Somebody might slam me in the strongman community, you're making it too simple, but this is like a really layman's gloss over. I can't go too deep into the weeds of this because I'd be doing you guys a disservice because I don't know that much about strongman. Programming is highly variable. A lot of the programs that I saw, because I kind of didn't know how to put together a strongman program, it's not something that I know how to do, but a lot of the training programs that I saw are typically 4 days. It's typically like a leg day, a chest day, a back day, and an event-specific day. So depending on if you plan on competing in strongman, which most of you guys probably won't, but if you were to compete, if you knew what competitions or what events would be in that competition, you would want to train obviously specifically towards those events. If you're going to do a yoke walk or a yoke carry and an Atlas stone pickup, the last thing you're going to do is train bench press out the ass. It makes no sense. So trying to train specifically towards the events that you'll eventually do, if you are going to do events, if you are going to do a competition, makes the most sense. But it's typically a 4-day split. A lot of the things that I saw were like in blocks of 12, 16, 18 weeks, or maybe even longer. A lot of those training programs are behind paywall, so I wasn't able to see them, but I can imagine that there's a deload built in, and I talked about deloading in last week's episode, 2 weeks ago's episode. If you're interested in that, definitely go check that out. What exactly is a deload and why it's important for you to do it. So I presume that a lot of these training programs have a deload in it, but much like any other training program, it's going to be a combination of low reps with high weight and vice versa, high reps with lower weight. And obviously, the difference here is you're going to do a couple more things that are more event specific. So it's going to look very similar. Not maybe look very similar. The actual movements will be different, but the concepts of creating a training program are very similar across all training styles. There's nothing, super specific about strongman program versus the way you set up like a powerlifting program. The only thing that's really weirdly specific is CrossFit, because CrossFit, it's a new program every day. There really is no program. You just get a workout every single day that you go. It's going to be different every single time. So, pros of a strongman weightlifting program. You're going to get strong in functional positions. Like I talked about just a couple minutes ago, a barbell was specifically created to be picked up and to be ergonomically pleasing to pick up, right? Strongman, you don't have that same luxury, right? Very rarely are you going to find yourself using a barbell, right? Which is maybe not very rarely, because they do use it. The people who have the world's heaviest deadlift are strongmen, right? I don't know who has the record now. It keeps changing, right? People, I don't know who has the official record. Eddie Hall had the official record for a long time, and then I think Halfdoor broke it, but unofficially, and then somebody else had it. So the goalpost keeps moving there. I'm not entirely sure, but these are all strongmen that are breaking the record for the world's heaviest deadlift, but very rarely, not very rarely, I keep saying that, but rarely will you find them actually using a barbell. They're going to be using things like a yoke, which is very weird to hold and to walk with. If you've never walked with a yoke, if you don't know what a yoke looks like, I'll pop it in right here, but it's not something that you would normally find, right? You're going to be picking up Atlas stones. You're going to be picking up weird shaped objects all the time as a strongman. So in terms of your regular everyday life, when you talk about CrossFit having functional movements that will help you cross over into your everyday life, how often are you going to find yourself picking up a barbell in your everyday life? Almost never. How often are you going to find yourself picking up weird shaped objects? Pretty often. So when it comes to your day-to-day functionality, strongman might be even better than a CrossFit style workout. Moving a bed, moving a couch, moving whatever, picking up things, dragging things, pushing things. All these things come into play specifically in a strongman program. So in terms of functional strength, strongman might be the top of the chain there in terms of quality of life. Pro number 2 is your grip strength is going to be absolutely insane. So a lot of things in strongman are carries, picking up, things of that nature. You really have to have strong grip strength in order to be successful in a strongman program. So for whatever reason, you feel like you need to emphasize your grip strength. People like rock climbers have really great grip strength because obviously they have to hold on to different holds. If you feel like your grip strength is weaker than you want it to be for any specific reason, if you want to improve on that, strongman is going to help you vastly improve your grip strength. And that'll happen across pretty much every sport except for maybe like bodybuilding. But grip strength is going to be probably the most taxed in a strongman program, which is a good thing. And last but not least, pro number 3 is there's still a cardiovascular aspect to strongman. So it's all about getting stronger, of course. It's in the name, strongman. But there is definitely a cardiovascular aspect to a strongman competition and to strongman lifts. Something like a tire flip is going to tax you cardiovascularly. When you're doing any sort of workout plan, when you're lifting weights, your muscles feel tired, but it's not super taxing on you cardiovascularly. You're maybe not breathing hard, your heart's not working super hard, and that's fine because it's a different stimulus. In strongman, you've got a combination of both, and you'll have the same combination in something like CrossFit. Powerlifting, not so much, not a big cardiovascular aspect there. CrossFit, you get a little bit of both. Strongman, you get a little bit of both. Imagine doing a tire flip. that is absolutely going to wreck you when it comes to cardio, right? The problem is, the length of cardio that you can do. You really should be doing, if you're worried about your cardiovascular health, you should be doing maybe longer bouts of cardio than what you would find in strongman, but it's not like you're completely neglecting that fact, right? Bodybuilding, powerlifting, almost no cardiovascular impacts there at all unless you add it onto it after the fact. But here it's kind of built in, which is really nice. So you get a nice blend of everything. And like the Wikipedia page said, strength, power, explosiveness, cardiovascular, muscle building, you get it all in a strongman program. And then going into the cons of strongman, it is very rare to find strongman specific gyms. So I don't think I've ever come across one, if I'm being completely honest. And I have one buddy who does strongman, and he did ask me at some point if I thought that there would be an audience for a strongman gym. And I honestly have no idea. I don't know how many people know that strongman is a thing, know that they can compete, or not compete in strongman, but they can do strongman exercises. It's going to be very rare to find those people, I think. But what do I know? If you've ever gone to a gym, you've probably never seen an Atlas stone. You've probably never seen a yoke. You've probably never seen farmer walk bars. You've probably never seen a log, right? These are all things that are very rare. The only time I've ever seen any one of these things is I saw Atlas stones at the Spartan race, which I coincidentally wore my Spartan race shirt today. Did not do this on purpose, but Spartan race has Atlas stones, right? One of the objects there is to pick up the Atlas stone and take it to the other side, and then I think you do burpees, pick it up, comes to the other side, and do burpees again, and you keep it moving, right? So that's the only time in my life that I've ever seen Atlas stones. It's going to be very rare for you to find these things in the wild. So if you wanted to do a strongman type of program, you probably have to sub out things with dumbbells and barbells, and maybe med balls, things of that nature, to try to simulate it as much as possible, but you're not going to get maybe the full extent unless you have a strongman specific gym or strongman specific equipment somewhere near you. But that's going to vary wide and far depending on where you live, depending on the demographic of your area. So it's going to be very rare to find some of these things. And last but not least, con number 2 of a strongman program is the injury rate is probably higher than in some other training styles. And I don't want to say like the injury rate is extremely higher. I don't know exactly. I don't think there's information out there as to how many people get injured doing a strongman specific workout. But I would imagine these are weird movements. You're putting yourself in a compromising position in order to get a movement completed, right? It's all about, like I guess with powerlifting, it's all about max strength. So you're going to be putting your body through the ringer as it comes to pushing your body to the limit of lifting the most weight you possibly can. But like I said, the barbell is a really convenient thing to lift. The same principles apply here with strongman. You're trying to put yourself in a position where you can lift the heaviest you can possibly lift, but you're going to be lifting odd objects. It might put yourself in a position that's not optimal for your body, for your health, right? So when you're picking up an Atlas stone, obviously there's a technique to it. I think you roll it up into your I'm not even going to try to explain the technique because I would probably butcher it, but there's obviously a technique to picking up an Atlas stone. But at the very top, there's probably a lot of back extension that puts yourself in a compromising position. And of course, learning the technique and being thorough and starting off slow and working your way towards those things is going to really limit the amount of chances you take as it pertains to injuring yourself. But at the end of the day, there's a higher risk here than it is probably with a bodybuilding style workout. Of course, if you're dumb, no matter what, you're going to hurt yourself, right? It's kind of like, and at any given day, you can walk outside the door, you can get in your car, and you can get in a car crash. There's always that sort of innate chance that you take when you get into a car. But of course, if you're breaking the rules and you're constantly speeding and you're constantly on your phone, the rate and the chances of you getting in a car crash rise exponentially. So as long as you're smart about it, obviously you're diminishing the chances that you actually injure yourself. But even then, even in the smartest scenarios, even in the best case scenarios, there's maybe a little bit more higher of a chance that you get hurt doing a strongman lift than anything else, because you're putting yourself in some sort of weird positions. And in those weird positions, you are trying to push your body to the max to move the most weight that you possibly can. So that's always something to have in the back of your mind. If you're a person who's very susceptible to injury, you've injured yourself before, you don't want to put yourself in a compromised position, maybe strongman isn't the best thing for you, right? There's people that come into the gym all the time. If you got bad knees, bad backs, it's something that they constantly have to deal with and they have to work around those things. You're probably not going to put yourself in a position where you're doing strongman lifts, at least not until a very, very, very long time when you have that under control and you can do it safely or as safely as you possibly can without really, really setting yourself back, right? Because if you do hurt yourself in a strongman competition, it could very well be detrimental. I think at some point, not to scare any of you guys, it might have been Franco Columbu. I could be completely misremembering this. I feel like I remember watching a video where somebody was carrying a refrigerator on their back and it was a strongman competition, I believe, and they snapped their leg in half. Disgusting video. I hate watching videos like that, but that's something it's a risk no matter what you do, but it might be slightly higher in something like a strongman program. But that about wraps it up. Training style number 5, strongman. Should you try it? If you like quality of life, if you like moving weird things, if you want to gain strength in kind of weird positions, if you enjoy doing these odd lifts, if they're cool to you, absolutely. If you don't have the places around you to do it, try to modify it as much as you can. Or if you're highly susceptible to injury, maybe not the best training style for you. But that about wraps up this show. Training style number 5. We are wrapping this up. We've got 6 and 7 left. I might do a bonus episode because I talked about boxing today. Maybe this is something that I'll do again in the future. I don't want to just keep doing training styles left and right. But that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. I appreciate and love you all. Stay festive, my friends. Peace out. Thanks for listening to the Made to Excel Fitness Podcast, the fitness podcast for you, by you. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, consider hitting the subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. New episodes come out every single Monday morning, so hitting the subscribe button ensures that you don't miss out on any new episodes. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, if you feel so inclined, please leave a 5-star review. It helps others find the show. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, hit the little bell, lets you know when new videos come out. Follow me on social media, on Instagram at MTEFit, on Facebook at Made to Excel Fitness. Email me at madetoexcelfitness@gmail.com. Let me know if there's anything that you guys want me to discuss on the show. It is in fact the fitness podcast that is for you, by you. I appreciate every single one of you guys that takes the time to listen to me on your Monday morning, wherever you are. I appreciate you all. Thanks for listening.
What's up, Mark? How you doing, man? Hunter Henry, LA Charger tight end. Best big time shout out to your fitness podcast, the Made to Excel Fitness Podcast. So super cool, man. Got a lot going on. Bolt ganger, don't bang.